Hi there. In this session, I would like to tell you about the introduction to standard JavaScript. So, what does mean by standard JavaScript? It means this is the first JavaScript which is invented by Netscape Navigator. Netscape Navigator, world's first browser, has been invented this standard JavaScript. In the sense, this is JavaScript only. Okay, so now we couldn't get this one Netscape Navigator browser because they shut down their company. Even it is running, but it is not. It is having in passive mode only, not in active mode. Whatever we are using here in this JavaScript, they can called as methods, objects, events, functions, etc. etc. So first, they introduced variable, variable, variable. Here you can see variable will save some information. For example, here you can see variable is having this kind of example where I want to write some name equal to so and so information. So what happening is here this name will save by variable, means this variable may play one kind of saving role, means it will save some data. Okay, this is a variable having in standard JavaScript. This is very most important here in this JavaScript because it is also saving some function, saving some information there in that variable. As well as here you can see there is a function also with a function. I will assign function name as message. Here you can see this is the syntax of our function, and we have to export that function method like msg. So this is exporting mirror. Okay, this is normal function whatever we are using. This is a standard function here in this JavaScript. Here we have to declare our document type. So I want to write some document dot write. Here you can see we have to mention that document name, so that some data, whatever data you may require, you can write that information here, and this function will render this output here in this document only. And even this function also carries and saves some data while we are assigning this kind of function method. And after that, here you can see there is data types is there. Okay, here you can see there is a data types is there. What does mean by data types? Data types means which kind of information will you save here in this variable. So that is called as a data type. So here you can see there is a name is there. You can write some name as like this. So where some name equal to double quotates. So here we will define some name so that it is called as a string. And there is another thing is there, means we can assign some number to this variable also. So where number equal to, we can assign some kind of number here in this variable. So here we can assign some array also. So if I need something information, I need some string, means name, I need some number also. I need some number also. So that what we have to do is we have to define like this. So here you can see this is here I can assign some string, as well as I will assign some number also. So this is called as a array, means array will save two or more values in this variable. So that this is an array. And here you can see there is variable is there, nothing but object. So here in this object, we can define some values for specific purpose. Means when we are creating any kind of data for APIs, then we have to use this kind of object method to store information there in that API. That object is having in this standard JavaScript mode known as data types method. One of the data types method is this object. So we can define if for example you may think in e-commerce website you can find some product. So complete product information is called as an object because product has some title. So we can define that product name, we can define that product name. Here we can see, so this is product name, as well as here we can see product description is there. Okay, and after that here we can define some product description also, and the product cost also, p cost also. Here we can see this is the p cost, and we can define some cost of the product. What happening is, in this object it will store some product information. We can export and import these values, means this is a variable. Storing this information in object method is one of the data type having in this standard JavaScript. This is also one of the important method has to use for our JavaScript frameworks. And also here there is a boolean value is there, so we can assign some value as a boolean, means boolean boolean equal to, we can assign true or false. So if we assign any true value to boolean, then that is a variable can store that value is a true or false. And remember, we can save this boolean value as a conditional statement, also. If else, like that we can use this true or false there in this data types. And after that there is a undefined null value also be there, so we can also use those values here in this data types. There is a local variable is there, global variable will also be there, local and local, local variable variable, and global variable also be there. As well as we can see, we can define some property here in this function had some default properties also be there, so we can assign some property for here in this function also. Here we can use some properties depend upon our requirement, we can use this one also. And as usual and as well as there is a conditional conditional statement is there, statement also be there in the sense if else, means whenever you want to use this conditional statement, we can see we have to use this if else. When we can use this if else, by assigning variable. If a equal to having 20 20, then variable b equal to having 10, then what next? If a equal to b, you can see if a equal to b, then which command do you require? This is a condition. If a is not equal to b, then else. Here you can see we have to use if else statement. So here we can see what we need to do is, if a equal to b, we need some output. For that what we have to do is, we have to write a document ment document dot write. Here you can see you can write that a is equal to b, so that here you can see. After that, if it is a is not equal to b, then we have to declare some value like document dot write. Here we have to define b is not equal to a. So when we can define, when we get these values, assigning after changing these operator, assignment operators are there, arithmetic operators are there, logical operators are there. Whenever you want to change this operator, whenever you will change this operator, then this document means this if else statement will change. As usual, whenever you will change this b variable, a variable here in these variables, then also these values document dot write will generate, and this function will execute. So these are very most important here in this JavaScript, having standard JavaScript. In this session, I would like to tell you about introduction to DOM. What does mean by DOM? DOM in the sense document object model. In the sense you can manage, operate, create and delete any kind of elements. Element in the sense we know about that one. Element in the sense that is a HTML tags, we can say that it is an element. So here in this DOM, this is the latest feature in JavaScript ES6th version. EX6th version. So in this DOM, you can see there is this kind of functionalities is there. In the sense, you can find the HTML specific element. You can change the HTML element, as well as you can changing the inner HTML of element, as well as style of HTML element also. Even you can add and delete. You can create element. You can remove element. You can add HTML elements. These kind of functionalities are having in this DOM known as document object model. So let's have a look. What I will do is I want to generate one date method in specific division tag only. For that, I will take a new document. So I will name it as DOM CLS class .html. So now what we need to do is we have to insert one HTML tag. I will insert one HTML starter template. Here you can see it seems to be like this. So save this one. What I will do is I will open this one in live server. Now we can see it seems to be like this. There is we couldn't find any kind of content over here because we couldn't insert any kind of content over there. So what I would like to do is here I need one heading, so that I will go with H2. Here I will put some heading. Here you can see, and after that I wants to take one paragraph. For that I will write some dummy content. So quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this is my paragraph. So here we can see what I will do is I will copy couple of times so that I can generate one paragraph for our project. So what I will do is I will put these elements into one parent known as a section. So I will close this one. Even I will put these two divisions into this section. So here you can see this is our section tag. What I will do is I will align these things like this. Here you can see save this one. So we need to assign some CSS to this section. So here you can see this is our main elements whatever we inserted into this document. So to assign a style sheet, I will go with the internal style sheet. Here you can see this is our internal style sheet. There I will use section tag. I will put some CSS for this section, and what I will do is width is equal to, I will go with 450 px. Now you can see this is width. So what I want to do is I want to insert some date method in between these two elements. For that what I will do is I will go with H3. Here you can see I want to put some date method over here. Here you can see even I couldn't mention any kind of date method over here. So to generate the date method, what we need to do is I will write some script about the closing body tag only, because that element will render in between body tags only, so that this H3 also having in between body tag, so that we need to assign that DOM document here in this script. So to assign that script what I will do is I will create a SECTION section, sorry, SCRIPT script. So this is also internal JavaScript. So here you can see. So generate date method, what we need to do is we need to assign date method to variable. So variable TODAY, today is our variable. So new date is a method having in this JavaScript. So whatever data it is having, those values will store into this today variable only. So I want to assign those value to this H3 only. So that what I will do is I will assign ID equal to, so I will assign some ID name as date. So here you can see this is date ID. So what I will do is I will put some document dot get element by ID. So here you can see I will mention those IDs in between double quotes, and I will place it as date. So full stop. So I will assign some dot, and we will assign this one for inner HTML text. So where we need to render this date value in specific division ID only. So that division ID is rendering by get element by ID. This is the ID name div ID. So in that div ID, it will render this today date variable will render. So what I will do is today. So here you can see save this one. Now you can see it seems to be like this. There is a date method is there. It is having GMT and ISD timings is there. So this is the default value which is having in JavaScript date method, and moreover this document.getElement by ID is getting putting these values into this div id, or else h3 id is equal date method. So what happening is in this DOM object, it will change the inner HTML of element, as well as it will change the style of HTML element. Even it can create an element, it can remove an element, it can add an element also. These are the features and functionalities are having in this document object model, which is invented by JavaScript ES6. This is only basic. This is only basic about a document object model. In this session, I would like to tell you about what are variables. Variables can store some data values, and that variable can re-render and a reusable object. Here in this JavaScript, this is one of the best feature, can able to save and store some value here in this variable. Let's have a look. So here what I am doing is I am taking new document and assigning some name as variable class dot html. In this document, I don't want to entertain external JavaScript file, but I would like to assign some internal JavaScript here in this HTML file only. For that, what I will do is I will take one HTML starter template. Here you can see this is our starter template, and I would like to define some script HTML5 tag. In between the script, we can assign some JavaScript. So now we are discussing about variable. And variable in the sense, if we want to define variable, we have to take var, and we have to assign some name like my name is equal to. Here in this my name, I used a camel case. So this is called as a camel case. If I want to assign some string in the sense any name, if you want to assign any name, if you want to save any name in this variable, my name variable, you have to define, if it is a text, you have to define double quotates. In between the double quotates only, you have to assign my name is JavaScript, some text. If it is zero, in the sense, if it is a number, we couldn't define double quotates. So what I will do is semicolon. So whatever variable and whatever value I want to assign to that variable has been assigned, that command has been closed, that method has been closed, so that I use the semicolon. Yes, yes. Also, you can use this semicolon to close that syntax. So I want to print this my variable. So it is a name, in the sense name is having string. So what I will do is I will take document dot write. If you want to print any kind of document here in this JavaScript, you have to use document dot write method. So here I am defining my name only. So here also I will use semicolon, save this one. Here you can see here in this curly closed brackets, I couldn't define any kind of double quotates, but I used only variable name. So let's have a look how it seems to be. So I will open this preview in our live server. Here we can see my name is JavaScript. If I used any kind of double quotates here in this document dot write, then how it seems to be. Let's have a look. Here what I will do is I will define double quotates by hitting shift double quotates. So I inserted my name variable in between double quotates, then save this one. Now here in this preview you can see it seems to be it exposes my name only. What does it mean? Means this document dot write consider this value as a string in the sense that it is a name only variable name. It will define and it will renders this name only. So it couldn't expose whatever document that variable has been saved. It couldn't render that value, so that we couldn't assign double quotates here in this document dot write output. So what I will do is I will remove that one and I will define my name is equal to save. Now you can see whatever value has been saved here in this variable, so it will render here in our browser. So I want to re-render that object also, so that what I will do is I will use that variable couple of times. In the sense what I will do is document dot write, there I will mention variable name like my name, so semicolon, save this one. Now we can see this is JavaScript as well as this is JavaScript. My name is equal to JavaScript. So what happening is whenever I would like to assign some property in between this variable, it can able to render a couple of times. So there is no restriction. So JavaScript and React.js always following this re-render concept to execute better output. So if I want to use any kind of number and I want to assign some number to variable, there in that number I want to assign some value, then how we have to write? So my number, what I will do is I will use my number equal to, here we couldn't define any kind of double quotates. I will assign something else number like this. So this is a number, it seems to be like this. What I will do is I will render this value here in this my num, save this one. Now we can see this is our number as well as this is our name. It seems to be like this. So this is our number. Here you can see I couldn't here in this number I couldn't assign any kind of double quotates. So this is a number we couldn't assign any kind of double quotates. If I use the double quotate for this number, I will hit shift double quotates. Now we can see then it will render my number like this. So it seems to be like this. So we couldn't entertain any kind of double quotate in between these open close curly braces, but I will use my num number, save this one. Now here we can render that string value and we can render that number value, whatever I took those values, whatever values I assigned to this variable. So this is the variable can store some information and able to run the able to re-render these values in couple of times with the help of this variable. So variable plays a very crucial role here in this JavaScript as well as JavaScript frameworks like Angular, React.js, etc., etc. So in upcoming class, you will learn about data types also. There also it had different kinds of data storage objects and methods are there. I will explain about what are arrays, object, everything. We can define that values. We can store those values here in this variable, so that there are around 7 kinds of data types are there. In next session, you will learn about all those topics. Hi there. In this session, I would like to tell you about JavaScript functions. What are functions in JavaScript? A set of statements that performs a task or calculative value is called as a function here in this JavaScript. A set of statement. What does mean by set of statements? You can define variable values. You can use variables in functional function, as well as you can use conditional statement here in these functions also. Those are all called statements, a set of statements that performs a task It means conditional statements makes a task. If you use the if else statement, that it performs a task or calculative values. In the sense, you can also define operators, arithmetic operators, conditional operators, and assignment operators to these to bring some calculation values with the help of conditional statement. You can use this conditional statement here in this functional, here in this JavaScript function. So that's where here we can see a set of statements that performs a task or calculative value. For that purpose, we can use some function. Have a look how it seems to be. So now we can see the syntax of this function. For that I will take new document and I will define function class dot HTML. This is our document. As well as I would like to define that function here in this internal command only. I don't want to load or link external files. So what I will do is I will bring some HTML starter template. Now we can see this is only the starter template and I would like to perform, I would like to define that function above the closing tag only with the help of a scripting tag. If you want to define any kind of JavaScript, then you have to use the scripting tag. You have to assign that value in between the scripting tag only. So what I will do is here you can see I will use function and define that name as something message. It message seems to be having open close curly braces. Why we should use that curly braces? So open close brackets, why we should use that open close brackets? Because we have to assign some properties. So it is called as a props. And here you can see we have to open close some curly braces. In between these curly braces only we have to define and we have to print some document with the help of document dot write method. So here what I will do is I will use this is JavaScript. Now you can see we defined you we want to assign some script means text here in this function. So we use the document dot write method and there I inserted double quotates is there in between that double quotates only defined some content. So save this one. What I will do is I will open this one in live server. Now we can see it seems to be like this. Now we can see this is our output. Okay, so here we couldn't find any kind of output. Here we couldn't find any kind of output, but make sure that we couldn't exported this value, so it couldn't render any output. What I will do is I will print this one as MSG. Now we can see we exported this JavaScript function value by assigning like this. This is the syntax. Now I save this document and here you can see it seems to be like this. This is JavaScript. So how many times I can do like this? In any number of times I can reuse and execute those values. You can see I will copy and paste, copy and paste. Now we can see there is this is JavaScript, this is JavaScript is there. Even we can assign some events to this function also. So events are having mouse event is there. Here we can see here in this JavaScript there is some events also be there known as events in the sense mouse event is there as well as keyboard events is there as well as it had some form event also be there. Okay, so when you want to assign some events to particular performance, it means for particular calculations or particular statements, then you have to use events. Alert is also one of the method. We can use that alert method to button also. We can assign some event for this alert method also. To execute the event, we should entertain this functional function here in this JavaScript. Now here you can see this is the syntax to execute our function. So here you can see What I will do is, instead of document.write, I want to assign another alert method. So what I will do is, I will select this document.write. I will comment it out by hitting control backslash. Now here in this VS code, we can see this is a short code. So I will assign alert method. There in that alert, we have to use open close brackets only. In between double quotes, I would like to assign. This is JavaScript. Now here we can see save this one. So here you can see there is alert button is there. There is an alert button. JavaScript is there. So if I hit refresh, here we can see another alert button is there. Whenever you may hit the refresh button, then you can get this output, because here in this functional function, we used only alert. So we are getting some alert. It is one of the boom method, in the sense browser object model method is there. Alert is the one of the browser object model method, and document.write is also one of the document related method. So we assigned these values in between this function only. So it is executing like this kind of command. Even I want to assign some alert to my button. So here you can say I need one button here in this body area. If I hit any this button, I want to see alert box. So how I can see that one? So here you can see what I will do is, I will take one button button. I will assign some button. I will assign some text to that button as alert me. So save this one. Now what I will do is, I will comment out this one also at present. I don't need this one. Save this one and come over here. You can see alert me button is there. So when I hit this button, I want to show that alert box. Okay, if I hitting this button, we couldn't able to find any kind of alert method. So what we have to do is, we have to define events to this button. Here I told you about events. There is a mouse event, keyboard event, form event is there. Now we have to define some mouse events to this button. So how we can define that mouse event? So here you can see on click is on click, click is one of the event for button. So I use that JavaScript on click event. So which alert do you want to show? So what I will do is, I will use MSG method. So here you can see function I use, and to this on click event, I would like to remove this MSG. Just save this one. Now we can see we couldn't find any kind of alert. If I hit alert me, now we can see, we can able to find out this one. On click is equal to MSG. So now save this one. I will hit alert me. So here we can see what we have to do is, I assign the button on click is equal to MSG. So that is the function name which we assigned to that function. So I will save this one. Now what I will do is, I will hit like this, but we couldn't see the output because there is no document, there is no method has been activated in between this function. So what I will do is, I will enable this alert method. So now save this one. Even I assigned this message, I am rendering this that function message with the event on click event. So come over here, refresh once and hit the alert. This is JavaScript. So when I hit that button, we can see alert method has been activated with the help of a function. So what I want to do is, I don't want to see this alert. So I want to disable this one, and I want to say, I want to render this document dot write here in this function method. So then what I will do is, I will comment out this one by hitting control backslash. Then you can see I will activate this document dot write by hitting control backslash. Save this one. Now we can see, just hit on this refresh, just hit alert me. Now you can see there is a JavaScript text is there. After hitting that button, it has been loaded, but our button couldn't able to see, because we use document dot write. While I am hitting this button, it couldn't loads this button, but it will show some content over here. If I hit refresh, now we can see that is a button also be there. And after hitting that button, we can see this is the JavaScript and refresh this one. I will disable this document dot write also, comment it out and save this one. Here we can see what I will do is I will disable these comments. Now we can see the alert button. So this is a function giving some events also. There is a different kinds of events is there. Events are having this kind of events. We can assign any kind of event to this function. So function always carries this set of statements that performs a task. Now it performed some task like document dot write and alert, and it will calculate also, means we can use conditional statement here in this JavaScript function also. In upcoming class we will discuss about that topic also. This is the source code about function. In this session I would like to tell you about what is global variable and what is local variable. What is the local and global variables? Global variables can be accessed globally. What does mean by globally? In the entire program. And after that, whereas local variable can be accessed only within the function. So remember, in this JavaScript, whatever it may be, either it may be local variable or it may be global variable, whatever it may be, has to be executed within the function only. So variables will generate, will used within the function limits only, then it is called as a local variable. So there is a relation between variable and function. Let's have a look how it seems to be. I will take a file. So local var and global var class dot html. So I will use this. I will execute this method within the HTML page only. I couldn't entertain any kind of external JavaScript files. So I will go with the HTML starter template. So here I will execute script method, script tag. So in between the script tag only, I will execute that global and local variable. So what I will do is, here I will assign some var my name equal to, in double quotes I will use this is JavaScript. So I would like to assign function also, so that I will use function msg. Here what I will do is I will generate document dot write. There I will use my name. So see, here you can see this is a variable. I assigned some value to variable. This is a value having in strings. So I would like to render this variable within the function only. So let's have a look. If I enter, if I want to export that function, so how it seems to be. So here you can see this is my function name, in the sense this is message. Here you can see I will see the preview. Here you can see preview seems to be like this. This is JavaScript. So what I would like to do is I want to re-render this function once again. So here what I will do is I will use document dot write method. Here I would like to assign this variable name. Remember, see, here I used function. Outside of function I am using one variable. So I would like to re-render this variable outside of this function only with the help of document.write. Here I will put this variable name known as my name. Save this one. Here you can see this is JavaScript as well as this is JavaScript. So this variable is called as a global variable. This is having outside of the function. So whenever I would like to render this global variable with the help of document.write method, it is executing this variable. So remember, this is a global variable having outside of the function. Now even I used this variable within the function only with the help of document.write method. I mentioned that variable name as my name. But now I want to put this variable within the function limits only. So now this is a global variable. I will remove this global variable and I would like to put within this function only. So this is a local variable. Now we are using local variable. Some other circumstances we have to use these kind of local variables to generate different kinds of outputs with the help of JavaScript. So now you can see, save this one. Here you can see this is a local variable. It is having within the function limits only. And I executed this function and how it seems to be. And also I executed this document.write method. So can we get this output or can we get this output? Let's have a look. What I will do is save this one. Now here we can see there is only one method is there. That method is having, we exported that function. It seems to be like this, but this document.write couldn't render that value because we are using local variable. It is not a global variable. So if I use this variable outside of function, here you can see it seems to be like this. Is this document dot write will render this variable global variable? See what I will do is save this one. Now we can see it will render that variable. This document dot write will render this variable. So this is the main difference between local variable and global variable, and this is also one of the main important topic. Whereas if you want to generate any kind of output, then we have to use this kind of variable within the limits of function only, so that we can execute our requirement here in this JavaScript. Hi there, in this session I would like to tell you about JavaScript data types. These are very most important in JavaScript. And whatever we are seeing here in this JavaScript data types are having in this standard JavaScript only. So the meaning of data type is different types of variable values. What does mean by this? Variable values. Variable can save some values. That values is called as a data types. Means we can assign some name to this variable. For example, if it is a ABC, then it would be a name. We are assigning some text here in this variable. So this is called as a string. And we are assigning value as 25 for this variable. So it will store data as number. And we are assigning some boolean values. Boolean values also one of the important thing here in these data types. It will assign some conditional statements. Means we can play this true or false boolean values as a true or false values in the sense conditional values. Condition in the sense it is a if else statement. And also here in this true or false boolean values, we can also make some conditions with the help of these boolean values. Means we are assigning this variable will store these boolean values. This variable will store these multiple kind of values is called as a array. This variable will store some object properties. For example, first name and last name. It is called as an object, as well as while we are writing and while we are doing any kind of project, there sometimes we need to assign some null variable, because here in this variable doesn't have any kind of variable. It is playing some null value. Moreover, here you can see there is undefined data value be there. Means variable couldn't define any property. It is undefined. Variable doesn't have any property, either number, name, object, boolean or string, whatever it may be. It is having only null. Then it is a null data type. So these are the data types having here in this standard JavaScript only. Okay, these are very most important. It is these data types are playing very more important role here in this JavaScript as well as JavaScript framework. Let's have a look how we can execute these data types here in this code editor. I will go with the VS Code editor, so that I will take a new document and it is called as a JavaScript data types. I will dot html. I will go with internal javascript only. Hit enter. To define this one, what we need to do is I will go with the standard HTML template. Here you can see, and I don't want to entertain any kind of external JavaScript. I will use internal JavaScript only. To assign that one, I will go with a script. This is HTML5, one of the tag. So in between this script tag only, we have to execute some JavaScript functionality. So I will take one variable. So that name I will define as a name for that variables. So name should be used some double quotes. There I will assign some text like this. This is JavaScript like that. So this is called as a string. We can say this is a string. So we assigned some text to this name. Means this name variable stored this text. So this is called as a string. I want to print it out in my document. In the sense, I want to print it out in my browser. How we can do that one? So now we can see, for that we have to use document object property, one of the property. So document dot write, I will go with the write. Here we can see we have to define that variable name, because that variable name has stored some information. We define that one. This is JavaScript. So what we need to do is we have to use that variable name only. So it will render that name here in this document. So we can see, I will save this one. What I would like to do is I want to see the preview, how it seems to be. So here you can see open in live server. So we can see that output, this is JavaScript. Means we assigned these variable value here in this document dot write only. So this is one kind of data type. This is the method to execute our data types by using data dot document dot write method. So if I use document dot write, if I use this variable here in this document dot write as with some double quotes, here you can see the preview how it seems to be. So it will consider, JavaScript will consider that name is a string. So save this one. Here you can see it will show you some name like this. JavaScript rendering, because we used some double quotes here in this document dot write now, so that it would consider as a string only, means it is a name. So name also print like this. So we doesn't it doesn't require any kind of double quotes to execute our variable name. So I will take name as like this. So here you can see this is a variable name. So what I want to do is I will comment out this one also. Comment out by hitting double backslash. So here we can see that is a string. I want to use a variable number. So number number equal to, here in this number, if you want to assign any kind of values to this variable, so it doesn't require any kind of double quotes. So we can assign some kind of number over here. So we need to use that number here in this document dot write method only. So what I will do is I will assign number. So save this one. Here you can see the preview. It seems to be like this. You can reuse this variable wherever you required. You can re-render this variable wherever you required. So this is called as a string. This is called as a number. So I will comment out this number also, as well as here you can see I will comment out this number also. And next we can see there is an array. So I want to save this string, as well as I want to save this number in one value, one variable. So I want to assign these two things in one variable. For that we have to use string. We have to use array. So what we need to do is where array equal to, how we can define? So array always maintains square brackets. Here only we have to define some value as this is JavaScript, comma, there we need to mention for second value. For this array will save these two values. I will give some number also, and semicolon. Here we can see we defined two values for this array, and we are rendering that array by using document.write as array. Save this one. Here you can see the value. It seems to be like this. Means array will saves the value, will saves the two or more value at a time, so that we can use this array data type, we can assign some array data type for this variable. So what I will do is, this is an array. After watching this video, you can download the source code also. I will send this, I will provide this source code to you, so that this is called as a array. So what I will do is, I would like to comment out this one. I will show you I will show you how to assign object. Here you can see. So here you can see this is the variable, and I will define that name as a object name. Okay, equal to open close curly braces. So name colon single quotates. This is user, comma. Then after that, the description single quotates. This is object description, description, like this. And this kind of values we can define here in this object. What I will do is, I will render this variable, and have a look. It seems to be like this, object object. Save this one. Now you can see, you couldn't see the properties. Here you can see the object, because these kind of data will available and will render there in that console only. So that what I would like to do is, I will comment out this one, save this one. You can't say about this object, and after that what I will do is, I will use console.log. Here you can see we have to define that object variable. So I will define as an object. So see here, save this one. We have to see this console, and right click, inspect. There you can see the console mode is there. There you can see object values are there, description is there, name is there, and some other prototype related objects also be there. So what happening is, we are saving some object properties to this variable, so we can reuse, re-render these things a number of times. To execute this one, we have to use console.log, and for remaining data types, we have to use this document.write to get output there in our browser. So there is some more data types also be there. You can see null data type is there, undefined data types is also be there. Some circumstances we have to use that data types for our project. These are the data types very useful, can able to use in that Angular, Vue, React.js, API, databases. There also we have to use these data types. These are the most important data types are having here in this standard JavaScript. In this session, I would like to tell you about JavaScript events. What are events? So events are one of the part and very main important concept here in this JavaScript. And events that occurs when the user or the browser manipulates a page. How a browser or a user will manipulate a page. If he clicks the mouse, if user clicks the keyboard, and if user clicks the or uses the forms, then it manipulates a page. It means it will apply events. Events are having these three types of events are there. events events are there here in this JavaScript. So see how they are work. So that here we can see, in previous lesson in functions class, I told you that if we use the on click event, and the browser will alert like this. Even I will share you this source code to you in our lesson. You can download and you can do practice there also. And I will take new document and define that on mouse events, events.html. Here in this session, I will tell you about how we can use on mouse over, on mouse out. I will use this JavaScript event here in this HTML only. For that, what I will do is I want to load one starter template like this. This is purely HTML starter template. It seems to be like this. Okay, and this is our browser. I want to see preview from here only. So what I will do is I will use that event where I can use on mouse over and mouse out. For that we need one scrolling text. How we can add that scrolling text with the help of marquee, marquee only? We can add this scrolling text. Here I want to add some paragraph. It seems to be like this. I will use brown brow and brown fox jumps over the lazy dog over the lazy dog. Here we can say I will copy and paste over here. Now we can see I will copy and paste couple of times so that I will get one output. What I will do is copy paste and save. Here we can see the preview seems to be like this. Open in live server. Now we can see it seems to be like this. This is a marquee tool. Here you can see there is a paragraph is there scrolling from right to left only. I want to assign some attributes to this marquee tool. Now what I will do is I will assign some properties attributes to this one. So I will assign width. I want to assign width width equal to 450 px. I would like to assign as 450 px. Save this one. Now you can see the output. It seems to be like this. We assigned some width to this marquee, and I will change direction like direction equal to I will apply from up. I need from up direction. You can see save this one. Now here you can see there is an output. But if I put my cursor over here in this paragraph, it will stop, and I remove that mouse from that paragraph, then it will scroll like this from bottom to top. How I can do this one? So that with the help of on mouse over, I will use on mouse event for this paragraph. And this I would like to assign some JavaScript for this one. So what I will do is I will use this dot stop stop. This is one kind of stop method here in these events. Save this one. Now have a look how it seems to be. I put my cursor over the paragraph, it will stop like this. I remove my paragraph from that I remove that paragraph from that paragraph, then it will scroll from bottom to top. Then we have to assign some more command, events command. It means on mouse out. Here we can see there is a mouse event. This dot start start method is there. So what I will do is I will use this dot start. Save this one. Have a look how it seems to be. I put my cursor over here and I remove that cursor and put over and out, over and out. Here you can see there is on and off scrolling is there. Mouse over, mouse out, mouse over, mouse out. So this is the code which I use to execute that kind of output. For animation I used marquee, and for on and off events I used this mouse over and mouse out, and for some other directions I assigned some marquee attributes. This is also one of the events to execute the events without using function only. We executed this start and stop methods for this marquee tool. So these are the events. In this session, I would like to tell you about introduction to DOM. What does mean by DOM? DOM in the sense document object model. In the sense you can manage, operate, create and delete any kind of elements. Element in the sense we know about that one. Element in the sense that is a HTML tags, we can say that it is an element. So here in this DOM, this is the latest feature in JavaScript ES6th version, EX6th version. So in this DOM you can see there is This kind of functionalities is there. In the sense, you can find the HTML specific element, you can change the HTML element, as well as you can changing the inner HTML of element, as well as style of HTML element also. Even you can add and delete, you can create element, you can remove element, you can add HTML elements. These kind of functionalities are having in this DOM known as document object model. So let's have a look. What I will do is I want to generate one date method in specific division tag only. For that, I will take a new document. So I will name it as DOM CLS class.html. So now what we need to do is we have to insert one HTML tag. I will insert one HTML starter template. Here you can see it seems to be like this. So save this one. What I will do is I will open this one in live server. Now we can see it seems to be like this. There is we can't find any kind of content over here because we couldn't insert any kind of content over there. So what I would like to do is here I need one heading, so that I will go with H2. Here I will put some heading. Here you can see, and after that I wants to take one paragraph. For that I will write some dummy content. So quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. So this is my paragraph. So here we can see what I will do is I will copy couple of times so that I can generate one paragraph for our project. So what I will do is I will put these elements into one parent known as a section. So I will close this one. Even I will put these two divisions into this section. So here you can see this is our section tag. What I will do is I will align these things like this. Here you can see save this one. So we need to assign some CSS to this section. So here you can see this is our main elements whatever we inserted into this document. So to assign a style sheet, I will go with the internal style sheet. Here you can see this is our internal style sheet. There I will use section tag. I will put some CSS for this section, and what I will do is width is equal to, I will go with 450 px. Now you can see this is width. So what I want to do is I want to insert some date method in between these two elements. For that what I will do is I will go with H3. Here you can see I want to put some date method over here. Here you can see even I couldn't mention any kind of date method over here. So to generate the date method, what we need to do is I will write some script about the closing body tag only, because that element will render in between body tags only, so that this H3 also having in between body tag, so that we need to assign that DOM document here in this script. So to assign that script what I will do is I will create a SECTION section, sorry, SSCRIPT script. So this is also internal JavaScript. So here you can see. So generate date method, what we need to do is we need to assign date method to variable. So variable TODAY, today is our variable. So new date is a method having in this JavaScript. So whatever data it is having, those values will store into this today variable only. So I want to assign those value to this H3 only. So that what I will do is I will assign ID equal to, so I will assign some ID name as date. So here you can see this is date ID. So what I will do is I will put some document dot get element by ID. So here you can see I will mention those IDs in between double quotes, and I will place it as date. So full stop. So I will assign some dot, and we will assign this one for inner HTML text. So where we need to render this date value in specific division id only. So that division id is rendering by get element by id. This is the id name div id. So in that div id it will render this today date variable will render. So what I will do is today. So here you can see save this one. Now you can see it seems to be like this. There is a date method is there, it is having gmt, and in isd timings is there. So this is the default value which is having in javascript date method. And moreover this document dot get element by id is getting putting these values into this div id, or else h3 id is equal date method. So what happening is in this dom object it will change the inner html of element, as well as it will change the style of html element. Even it can create an element, it can remove an element, it can add an element also. These are the features and functionalities are having in this document object model, which is invented by JavaScript ES6. This is only basic. This is only basic about a document object model.